parental INO, meaning parental intake and parental outtake. So in this particular example I'm doing here is a parental intake. It's what the body's taken in. So we have this order here. It says a client is administered 1,000 milliliters of the 5% distilled water at a flow rate of 100 milliliters per hour since 2300. It says at 0300 hours, the physician increases the IV hourly flow rate to 125 milliliters per hour. Which value of the parental intake should the nurse calculate and how much? So the nurse is on this shift here, right? Which is 2300 to 0700, meaning 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. We know that at 11 p.m., 2300, they had a flow rate of 100 milliliters per hour. Now we notice here that they said that at 0300, they increased it, right? So that means 2300 to 0300, we're on that 100 milliliters per hour. Well, let's calculate that right quick. 11 p.m. to 12 p.m. is 1 hour. 12 to 1 is 2. 1 to 2 is 3. And 2 to 3 is 4. So we got 4 hours. I'm going to multiply this by 4 hours, which gives me 400 milliliters. That was taken in by the patient during these hours. Well, at 0300, right, they said they increased it to 125 milliliters per hour. And the shift ended at 700, 0700. So anything beyond that point, another nurse would be calculating it. But in this case here, we are only going to calculate 4 hours, right? From 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. is 4 hours. So now I have 125 times that 4 gives me 500 milliliters. And I'm going to take just a minute to show you what happened to the hours. This is actually seen as over 1. So 1 hour or hour over hour reduces down to 1, right? So the same here. Oops, this should only be 1. Okay. So now I'm going to add this up. I got 400 milliliters plus the 500 milliliters. So the total intake during this shift is 900 milliliters. Let's do another one. It says in the morning, there's a handoff report. A day shift. Nurse learns that the patient's IV has a flow rate of 80 milliliters per hour, with 600 milliliters remaining in the bag. They said it felt infiltrated at 0630. The IV is restarted at 0800. The nurse gives the patient an IV piggyback of 50 milliliters of Dextro 5, which has a strength of 500 milligrams at 10 a.m. So both IV infusions continuously at noon. The MD increases the rate to 100 milliliters per hour. The patient pulls out the IV at 1300 and the nurse restarts it at 1400. We're going to discard this sentence right here. It's too sciencey. We're not going to get into that. We're just going to calculate what happened between the shift of 0700 and 1500. So let's go up here and look. It said that they were given this flow rate of 80 milliliters per hour, right? And they said it infiltrated at 0630, but it didn't get restarted till 8 a.m. So 8 a.m. is when we're going to start notating, because from 6:30 to 7, someone else is taking care of that documentation. And it shows from 7 to 8 that the patient wasn't receiving anything. So 8 o'clock, it started. It says here that we'll come back to this IV piggyback here in a minute. Let's keep going. It says it was continuously infusion till noon. So from 8 a.m. to noon, right, 1200. We're going to calculate 9, 10, 11, 12, right? That's 4 hours. And we're going to multiply it to the 80 milliliters per hour. So we're gonna say 80 times that 4 gives me 3320 milliliters. Now from noon until the end of the shift, which is 1500, right? It increased the rate to 100 milliliters per hour. And how many hours is that? So you got 1, 2, 3, because 15 is 3 p.m., right? So it's 3 hours. And we're going to multiply it to this. This gives me 300 milliliters. All right. Now let's go back and calculate the IV flow rate. First, we got to make sure it happened during the shift, and it did. It was 10, it's at 10 a.m. And it says they gave them 50 milliliters, right? So now let's add it all up. I got 320 milliliters plus 300 milliliters plus that 50 milliliters. So my total intake for this shift is going to be 670 milliliters.